Hey guys, what's up? It's Kyle again with another under the microscope video. Under the microscope is a video series where I do an in-depth discussion or take an in-depth look at current wrestlers in both mainstream and independent wrestling. I just uploaded a video on Bobby Roode, an in-depth discussion or look at him, and now I'm going to do this one on James Storm. James Storm's the Cowboy. Just briefly, James Storm also had he had a snit as well in Ring of Honor. Actually, before that, he had a little snit in WCW. He was in there for a quick cup of coffee until they closed down back in 2000. From there, he had a snit in Ring of Honor. Came into TNA. Started off with America's Most Wanted, along with Chris Harris, another great tag team, in my opinion. From there, he kind of, when America's Most Wanted broke up, he kind of, to me, James Storm just kind of floundered, in TNA. He wasn't even an upper mid-card guy, in my opinion. He was just a lower mid-card guy, as I considered him to be during this time. And then they paired him up with Bobby Roode to form Beer Money, another great tag team, with won countless tag team championship gold. And then they split them up. James Storm became the World Heavyweight Champion for the first time on that following week of Impact after Bound for Glory beating Kurt Angle in like a minute and 20 seconds. When James Storm became the World Heavyweight Champion, my thoughts on it was I was pretty upset about it because the guy I wanted to win and cash in my chips on was Bobby Roode, and Bobby to find out that Bobby originally was intended to win the world title at Bound for Glory, but due to politics, mostly Hogan, screwed that over and changed that at the last minute, and then to have James Storm to win the belt that following week after the pay-per-view, I was pretty upset. Because like I said, Bobby was the guy who I wanted, to win. I thought it was Bobby's time. And like I said, all the way, throughout James Storm's career, I never considered James Storm to be main event World Heavyweight Champion material. He won the world title, had it for 2 weeks, but then lost it to Bobby, who is now the current world champion. And since then, he's fought and climbed his way to get back up to the top. But I think the one thing that really changed my mind in James Storm becoming and believing James Storm is the main eventer now compared to when he first won the world title is the match that he had against Kurt Angle. The matches that he had against Kurt Angle, I went back and watched them, and I'm like, you know what? These are some pretty good matches, and to me, Kurt Angle is one of the best wrestlers in the world and of all time. And I still put Kurt Angle as one of the top best wrestlers in the world today because even though he's past his age and he's banged up, he can still give you a 5-star quality match. So for James Storm to get in the ring with Kurt Angle and for me to go back and look at those matches and see him go toe-to-toe with Kurt Angle, and actually beat him, 2 out of the 3 times they fought, I'm impressed. His matches with Kurt Angle made me believe that he is world champion main event material. And I don't even say that this is for me, but I can probably guarantee that probably was in everybody else's mind. That when James Storm first won the world title, that hit everything. That hit Twitter, all the wrestling news websites. It sent ablaze. It was a shock. The IWC, it hit everywhere. Any wrestling media, it hit. And a lot of people were shocked. Some were happy. Other people were kind of like, scratching their heads, like, huh? But I think, his feud with Kurt Angle, I think that really helped elevate James Storm into being believed now and, and making him ready, as a main eventer and world champion caliber. And I believe that now. I didn't believe it at first when they first won the world title because, like, they just gave it to him, out of the blue. But, since, like I said, going back and looking at his matches with Kurt Angle and seeing him win, 2 out of 3 of them, I think, it made me believe, like, hey, you know what? James Storm, if he can step in the ring with Kurt Angle, who's a freaking wrestling machine, then I think he's world champion main event caliber. Um, so my perspective of James Storm has changed greatly due to that rivalry with Kurt Angle, and just to see him even after Kurt Angle, but just after Kurt Angle and going through his matches with Jeff Hardy and Bully Ray, who are also top contenders in TNA now. That also make me just believe even more. And tonight he just beat Bully Ray in the #1 contenders match to face James Storm for the world title at Lockdown. And honestly, my take on this is, I'm looking forward to this because, like I said in my in-depth discussion video on Bobby, this is the first one-on-one match between former Beer Money partners, tag team partners, former friends, since their match they had back in November when James was the defending champion and Bobby screwed his friend over by busting his head open with a beer bottle and taking the belt from him. So this is the first time we get to see these guys in a one-on-one match. Since then, any other time James Storm was always in a triple threat or this past Sunday a four-way, and he lost. He didn't get the belt. But so I'm looking forward to this as a one-on-one match, and like I said in my in-depth video on Bobby, I think Bobby has done an incredible job, and keeping the belt, bringing importance back to the championship. I've enjoyed his reign as champion, and I still love Bobby, and I still love Bobby more than James Storm. That'll never change. I still love Bobby more than James Storm. However, I do think James Storm is more of a character compared to Bobby. Bobby kind of reminds me a little bit of like a Chris Benoit or an Eddie Edwards in terms of they got the look, they have the skills, but they kind of lack a little bit in charisma and personality a little bit. Although I do think since Bobby has turned heel, I think that's helped him develop a more of a character or personality. But before Bobby turned heel, I didn't think so as much. But even still now, even though he has developed, a character, with the self-generation thing he's got going on, which I'm loving, I still think between the two, James Storm has more charisma and just has a little bit better mic skills than Bobby. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know if you guys would agree with me on that or not. But James Storm is more of a character. He is. So I think if they're gonna get the belt back to James Storm, so I think now would be the good time to do it. The Lockdown pay-per-view is TNA's most bought pay-per-view out of the year. It's the highest rating pay-per-view, most sold pay-per-view. This year I heard it's going to be in Tennessee, so that's in James Storm's hometown. And then, like I said, you just look at the story between these two guys, former tag team champions. These guys were friends. Like I said, multiple tag team champions. These guys were the best of friends. One became world champion, instead of the other one. The other one ended up, screwing his good friend, turning on his friend because he wanted the world championship just that bad. And since then, one friend has, gone down the dark path and, just become a complete jerk and just, changed completely since being a world champion, while the other friend has had to, the good guy, had to claw and scratch and fight his way all the way back up to the top. And while the bad guy has had successful title defenses, they've all been, dirty, cheap, sleazy. He's had to do whatever he had to do to keep the belt. Just an outright bad guy. And so for now, the good guy to finally get back on top to get his one-on-one rematch that he hasn't had in the last 6 months for the world title, his first one-on-one rematch against his former friend who screwed him, from his world title, are locked in a steel cage. There's nowhere for Bobby to run out, to go. James Storm is in his hometown, and like I said, just that story that I just explained, these two guys, former friends, tag team partners, and how one screwed the other to become world champion, and it's all leading up to this point here. I think this is a great story building up to it. This match in itself, it has a great story to it. It has a great build to it. Just from the history of these two guys and how one screwed over the other, and how the other one had to have the 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 trial through fire and error type of like story where he had to claw and scratch his way back up to the top to get his one-on-one rematch, which he hadn't gotten. So I think this makes some great storytelling. So if they're going to give the belt back to James Storm, with everything I just mentioned, from where the pay-per-view is going to be held, the 15th most high-bought pay-per-view, this in James Storm's hometown, and like I said, the history and story between the two, it'll make better sense to give the belt to James Storm then. And honestly, I wouldn't feel bad about it because, like I said, before, when James Storm won the world title the first time, I'm like, are you serious? I didn't see James Storm as being nothing more than upper mid card at best, but not world champion, main championship, main event caliber. But since seeing his feud with Kurt Angle, his matches with Kurt Angle, and all the other main event matches that he's had, with Bully and Jeff Hardy, he's made me believe now that hey, he is championship material. He is main event ready. I believe in James Storm as a main eventer. And I still love Bobby, and I love everything that Bobby's done. And I still love Bobby more than James. I think Bobby is a better wrestler compared to the two. Although I just think James is more of a character and has better charisma and a little bit better mic skills than Bobby. But still, all that being said, I can now believe in James Storm. So, and then like I said, and then I've also enjoyed Bobby's reign as champion. So if Bobby does lose to James Storm, I wouldn't mind, because James Storm has now made me a believer in him, that he is main event ready, championship material. So this is just my little inside look on the James Storm, under the microscope, inside look on James Storm. So let me know what you guys think about James Storm in the comments below. Like the vid. Did you guys have the same thoughts that I had, like I said in the beginning of this video about James Storm? Please leave your comments down in the box below. Comment, subscribe. Peace.